Well, I pulled a quote from the book when I opened the program a minute ago by saying that asking the question, have our prisons become ipso facto mental institutions? And you actually were involved in the Supreme Court decision to release more than 30,000 prisoners over the next couple of years in the state of California. That Supreme Court decision in Brown versus Plata on May 23rd. And
yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, I served as, I was one of the expert witnesses testifying in that case. What has happened in America since the so-called deinstitutionalization of the mentally ill has been what I would call really trans-institutionalization. In other words, instead of simply releasing the mentally ill from mental hospitals, since the 1960s, when this whole program started, and removing them from mental hospitals and then providing alternative locations for treatment, like community residences and community mental health centers and halfway houses and so forth. Instead of doing that, which is what the proponents of deinstitutionalization had recommended under Presidents Eisenhower and Kennedy, what happened was the United States didn't spend the money to do that. So the mentally ill were simply released onto the streets. As a result, many of the mentally ill became either homeless or were arrested just for behavior that was technically a violation of the law, but usually not violent, or they wound up dead. And so what happened was what I call trans-institutionalization. The mentally ill largely moved from mental hospitals to prisons. And that's been going on, as I said, since really the late 1960s. It's one of the tragedies in modern American history. This Supreme Court case, which declared, which ordered really the state of California to decrease the population of the prisons, will, among other groups, largely affect the number of the mentally ill in prisons. Many of the people in prison today are mentally ill, many more than used to be. One psychiatrist, E. Fuller Torrey, commented that the largest mental hospital in the country is the Los Angeles County Jail. And he's right. There are more mentally ill people in the Los Angeles County Jail than there are in any mental hospital in the country. Now, prisons are the worst possible place for the mentally ill to be. They're much more likely to commit suicide, to become or remain psychotic, to be murdered or raped or robbed or beaten. It's the worst possible place for them. So I thought the Supreme Court case, Brown v. Plata, ordering California to reduce the population of the prisons, and certainly many of the reductions will be among the mentally ill prisoners, is a tremendously important step to reverse one of the, I think, the greatest mistakes that the U.S. has made in its mental health system during this century.
So what will happen to these 30,000? Where will they go? Is there a plan?
Well, that is up to the state of California. It would be logical and appropriate for the state of California to find ways to integrate the mentally ill prisoners into the mental health system as they are removed from the criminal justice system. I know that many people are afraid of people who are mentally ill, and especially if they are mentally ill prisoners. But there's, in fact, a great deal of research showing that mentally ill prisoners are less likely to be recidivists, that is, to reoffend with violent behavior in the community than the non-mentally ill prisoners are.